For decades, India was seen as the underdog, a nation of contrasts, often spoken of in terms of poverty, overpopulation, and chaos. But today, that narrative has flipped. India is no longer the sleeping giant on the sidelines. It's the rising power that every major nation is watching closely, and in some cases, quietly fearing. This fear isn't just about missiles or armies, though India's military is one of the largest and most advanced in the world. It's about something much bigger, India's transformation into a global heavyweight. With an economy growing faster than almost any other, a population that has already surpassed China, and a young, skilled workforce driving the future of technology, India is reshaping the balance of power. But fear also comes from unpredictability. Unlike many nations, India doesn't neatly fit into one camp. It does business with the West, buys oil from Russia, challenges China, and speaks for the global South, all at the same time. That independence makes India both an essential partner and a potential rival, depending on where you stand. In this video, WeLines explore exactly why India commands such attention, from its economic rise and technological dominance to its growing military might, diplomatic influence, and cultural power. Because to understand the 21st century, you can't ignore India. In fact, you have to start with it, so let's dive in. Why is India the nation everyone fears now? India's economic rise not long ago, India was described as a sleeping giant, a nation full of potential but weighed down by poverty, bureaucracy, and underdevelopment. Fast forward to today, and that giant is fully awake. India has transformed into the world's fastest-growing major economy, outpacing even China in growth rates. In a symbolic twist of history, India recently overtook the United Kingdom in GDP, reclaiming a higher rank than its former colonial ruler. Today, it sits proudly among the top 5 economies in the world, and projections suggest it could be in the top 3 within the next decade. One of the driving forces behind this surge is India's bold Make in India initiative, designed to attract global manufacturing and reduce reliance on imports. The program has positioned India as a rising alternative to China, especially as global companies seek to diversify supply chains away from Beijing. From smartphones and electric vehicles to pharmaceuticals and defense equipment, India is becoming a global production hub. Beyond manufacturing, India's economic strategy is outward-looking. It has expanded trade partnerships across Asia, Africa, and Europe, building long-term ties that not only secure markets for Indian goods, but also strengthen political influence. This is where the fear factor kicks in. A booming economy backed by the largest workforce on the planet gives India tremendous leverage. Countries and corporations alike recognize that ignoring India isn't just a missed opportunity, it could be a costly mistake. The rise of India's economy sends a clear message to the world. This isn't just about numbers on a chart. It's about the rebalancing of global power. When an economy of 1.4 billion people starts moving at full speed, everyone else feels the impact. The demographic powerhouse. While much of the developed world is grappling with shrinking populations and aging citizens, India is heading in the opposite direction. In 2023, India officially surpassed China as the world's most populous nation, but numbers alone don't tell the full story. The real strength lies in demographics. More than half of India's 1.4 billion people are under the age of 30. That's not just a statistic. It's a tidal wave of energy, creativity, and potential waiting to be unleashed. This young workforce stands in stark contrast to the aging populations of Europe, Japan, and even China, where decades of the one-child policy have created demographic challenges. For global companies, India offers a gold mine, a steady pipeline of educated, English-speaking professionals who are not only tech-savvy, but also adaptable to international business environments. Every year, millions of graduates enter the job market, feeding industries like IT, engineering, healthcare, and finance. The fear factor here is simple. India combines the role of producer and consumer. It's not just that India has the labor force to power global industries, it also has the sheer size of market demand. From smartphones to streaming platforms, India is where future growth lies. This double advantage terrifies competitors because no other major economy offers both scale and youth on this level. We're already seeing a global shift. Multinational giants are moving operations from China to India, betting on its long-term stability and workforce advantage. Apple, for instance, now assembles iPhones in India. Tesla and other manufacturers are looking to expand. And with every investment, India's economic clout grows. Demography, as they say, is destiny. And India's youthful destiny is one that has the world's aging powers watching with both envy and apprehension. Military strength and strategic power, when people think of India, they often imagine its booming markets or vibrant culture. But beneath the surface, India is also a military giant, one of the top 5 military spenders in the world. With over 1.4 million active personnel and a defense budget exceeding $80 billion, India commands one of the largest armed forces on the planet. And unlike in the past, today's military is undergoing rapid modernization. India possesses nuclear weapons and an increasingly sophisticated missile arsenal, ensuring deterrence against adversaries like China and Pakistan. Its air force operates advanced fighters, including French Rafales, while its navy is expanding to dominate the Indian Ocean, one of the most critical shipping lanes for global trade. Aircraft carriers, nuclear-powered submarines, and state-of-the-art drones are all part of the push to secure not just its borders, but also its maritime backyard. Strategically, India sits in a tense neighborhood. With China to the north and Pakistan to the west, it faces constant threats, but this pressure has forged resilience. On the Himalayan borders, Indian and Chinese troops have clashed in recent years. In response, India has reinforced its high-altitude defenses, proving it won't be intimidated. Partnerships amplify this strength. India maintains strong defense ties with the U.S., France, Israel, and even Russia, giving it access to cutting-edge weaponry from multiple sources. This flexibility means India isn't tied to any single bloc, another reason it is feared. The critical shift is that India's military is no longer purely defensive. It's beginning to project power regionally, from joint exercises in the Pacific to humanitarian missions in Africa. For neighbors and rivals alike, that's a wake-up call. India is not just protecting itself, it's shaping the security architecture of an entire region. Geopolitical influence India's rise isn't just about economics or military power. It's also about influence. Today, India stands as one of the leading voices of the global South, representing the interests of developing nations on the world stage. While many countries see themselves as followers, India positions itself as a bridge between the global powers and those who have historically been overlooked. Membership in powerful groups reflects this clout. In BRICS, India partners with Brazil, Russia, China, and South Africa to challenge Western-dominated institutions. In the Quad, alongside the US, Japan, and Australia, India plays a key role in counterbalancing China in the Indo-Pacific. And as a member of the G20, India has not only hosted global summits, but also used them to push forward agendas that prioritize both development and security. What sets India apart is its ability to balance. It buys weapons from Russia, imports oil despite Western sanctions, maintains strong ties with the US, and deepens trade with Europe. Few nations can manage this kind of diplomatic juggling act, and that's exactly what makes India so hard to ignore. The fear factor here is geopolitical unpredictability. Western powers can't rely on India to automatically side with them, and China knows India won't fall into its sphere of influence either. Instead, India pursues its own national interest, tilting alliances depending on what benefits it most. For example, when the West pushed sanctions against Russia, India refused to fully comply, continuing to buy cheap oil to fuel its economy. That independence sends a powerful message. India will not be pressured into submission. In the 21st century, influence is as valuable as firepower. And India, with its global credibility, massive market, and neutral stance, has become a swing power capable of tilting the balance in any direction it chooses. Tech and innovation superpower. If the economy is India's engine and demographics its fuel, then technology is its rocket booster. India has quietly built a reputation as a tech and innovation powerhouse. The world already relies heavily on India's IT sector, with Bengaluru often called the Silicon Valley of Asia. Millions of software engineers and developers power everything from banking systems to Silicon Valley startups. But this is just the beginning. India has evolved from being the world's outsourcing hub to becoming a center of cutting-edge innovation. Artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, fintech, and biotech are all areas where Indian companies and startups are making global waves. In fact, India now produces unicorns, billion-dollar startups, faster than almost any country outside the US and China. In space, India has stunned the world. Its Chandrayaan-3 mission successfully landed on the Moon's South Pole, a feat no other nation had achieved before. Its Mars Orbiter mission did the impossible by reaching the Red Planet on a budget smaller than many Hollywood films. These achievements showcase not just technical ability, but also India's mastery of cost-effective innovation. The government is also investing heavily in semiconductors, 5G, and green technology, determined to secure the industries of the future. Combine this with a massive pool of engineers and scientists graduating every year, and the result is a nation positioning itself as the next global innovation hub. The fear factor is clear. India is no longer just the world's back office. It's becoming a serious competitor in high-tech industries that were once dominated by the West, Japan, or China. And as the world moves deeper into a digital age, India's rise in tech is not just impressive, it's unstoppable. Energy and resource security. Energy is the lifeblood of every modern economy, and India is no exception. As the third largest energy consumer in the world, India's hunger for oil, coal, gas, and electricity is staggering, and it is only growing as millions rise into the middle class each year. But what makes India stand out is how strategically it plays the energy game. In the wake of global crises, India has proven that it won't be bullied into energy shortages. When Western nations placed sanctions on Russian oil, India stepped in with record imports at discounted prices, fueling its economy while keeping inflation under control. At the same time, it continues to secure long-term energy partnerships with the Middle East and Africa, ensuring diverse sources that give it bargaining power in global markets. But India isn't just clinging to fossil fuels, it's aggressively pursuing renewables. With some of the largest solar farms in the world, wind energy projects, and a push toward green hydrogen, India is setting the stage to be a leader in the global clean energy transition. It's not just about meeting its own demand, it's about positioning itself as a future exporter of renewable technologies and expertise. Add to this the critical role of rare earth minerals and other strategic resources. As the world races toward electric vehicles, batteries, and semiconductors, India is investing in mining and securing supply chains. It knows these resources will be the currency of global power in the decades ahead. The fear factor is clear. A nation of India's size, with this level of energy demand and strategic foresight, doesn't just consume resources, it shapes markets. When India shifts direction, global energy flows follow. cultural and soft power influence. Power doesn't always come from armies or GDP numbers. Sometimes it comes from culture, and here, India is a giant. Through Bollywood and Indian music, India exports a cultural wave that reaches far beyond its borders. From blockbuster films watched across the Middle East and Africa to chart-topping collaborations with global artists, Indian entertainment has carved its own place in the international imagination. Then comes the diaspora, over 30 million people of Indian origin living around the globe. They're not just passive communities, they're CEOs of global corporations, political leaders, doctors, engineers, and entrepreneurs who shape economies and policies from the US and Canada to the UK, Australia, and the Gulf. This diaspora serves as both India's ambassadors and influencers, weaving Indian perspectives into global decision-making. But perhaps the most powerful cultural exports are yoga, meditation, and Ayurveda. What began as ancient practices are now billion-dollar global industries. From California wellness retreats to European healthcare trends, these Indian traditions have reshaped how the world thinks about health, mindfulness, and spirituality. And let's not forget cricket. More than just a sport in India, it's a cultural force. With the Indian Premier League (IPL) generating billions in revenue and attracting international stars, India doesn't just dominate cricket, it practically owns its economy. This sporting influence further cements India's role as a soft power superpower. The fear factor here is subtle but powerful. Culture shapes perception. By embedding itself into lifestyles, entertainment, and sports worldwide, India builds influence without firing a single shot. When a nation's culture becomes part of daily life across continents, it doesn't just win friends, it shifts global narratives, border tensions, and regional rivalries. India's rise doesn't come without friction, especially in its own neighborhood. Its most well-known rivalry remains with Pakistan, rooted in decades of conflict over Kashmir. Despite numerous wars and ongoing skirmishes, India's military dominance and growing global standing increasingly tilt the balance. For Pakistan, the fear is existential that India's political, economic, and military weight will overshadow it permanently. But Pakistan isn't the only concern. India faces a far larger challenge in the north, China. In recent years, border clashes in Ladakh and the Himalayas have shown just how tense relations are. While China may still have greater military spending, India's refusal to back down and its rapid modernization of mountain warfare capabilities has sent a clear message: it will not be intimidated. Beyond land borders, India asserts itself in the seas. The Indian Ocean is its backyard, and it's unwilling to let China's string of pearls strategy, a network of ports across South Asia, go unchallenged. From building naval bases to conducting joint exercises with allies, India is positioning itself as the gatekeeper of one of the world's most important trade routes. Its influence extends over its smaller neighbors too. From Nepal and Bhutan in the north to Sri Lanka and Bangladesh in the south, India remains a decisive player. Aid, investments, and infrastructure projects tie these countries closely to India, even when China tries to expand its influence. The fear factor here is regional assertiveness. India is no longer content with being the silent neighbor. It's becoming an assertive power that demands recognition, and for its rivals, that means constant recalibration of strategies. Internal challenges that strengthen resolve. For all its power, India faces enormous internal challenges. Poverty and inequality remain stark, with millions still living below the poverty line. Religious and social diversity, while a source of richness, sometimes leads to tension and conflict. And infrastructure struggles, from chaotic traffic to urban pollution, are part of daily life in many cities. But here's where India stands apart. It doesn't collapse under these pressures. Instead, it adapts. The word often used is jugaad, a uniquely Indian form of creative problem solving, where people find quick, innovative solutions to survive and thrive despite constraints. Whether it's running businesses in small villages with limited resources or tech startups solving problems at global scale, this resilience defines India's character. These internal challenges, paradoxically, make India stronger. Every time the country confronts a crisis, whether economic, environmental, or social, it bounces back. And rivals underestimate this resilience at their own risk. Where other nations might stall under the weight of complexity, India turns it into fuel for progress. The fear factor lies in perception. If a nation can continue to grow while managing these internal contradictions, what happens when those challenges are gradually solved? India's potential trajectory then becomes almost limitless. For competitors, that's a daunting thought. A country that not only refuses to be slowed by obstacles, but actually grows stronger through them. The world's reactions. India's meteoric rise hasn't gone unnoticed, and reactions vary depending on where you look. In the United States, India is seen as both a partner and competitor. Washington wants India as a counterbalance to China in the Indo-Pacific, but at the same time, it worries about India's growing independence in technology and defense. For China, the reaction is clear: wariness. Beijing views India as a rival in both economics and geopolitics. The border clashes, competition for influence in South Asia, and India's partnership with the U.S. through the Quad all feed Chinese anxiety. Pakistan, of course, feels the pressure most directly. India's dominance in South Asia leaves Islamabad increasingly isolated, dependent on Chinese support. Every Indian military upgrade or diplomatic win is viewed as a direct threat. In Europe, the reaction is more pragmatic. Countries see India as a massive trade partner and a way to diversify away from China, but they're cautious about India's refusal to fully align with Western policies, especially regarding Russia. Meanwhile, in Africa and the wider global South, India is welcomed as an alternative to both Western and Chinese dominance. Its historical ties, affordable technology, and focus on development projects make it a credible leader for nations seeking balance in international relations. The global takeaway: nobody can afford to ignore India anymore. Whether feared as a competitor, courted as a partner, or respected as a leader, India has become a permanent fixture in every major power's strategic calculus. Why the world fears India? So, why does the world fear India? The answer lies in the convergence of power. It's not just the economy, or the military, or the technology. It's all of them, combined with demographics, culture, and diplomacy, rising at the same time. Few nations in history have managed this kind of multifaceted growth so rapidly and so independently. India isn't just rising, it's reshaping the global order. Its economy influences markets, its military secures borders and seas, its tech powers the future, and its culture shapes lifestyles worldwide. But above all, India's independence, its refusal to be boxed into one camp or another, makes it unpredictable. And in geopolitics, unpredictability equals fear. Fear here doesn't only mean anxiety, it also means respect. Whether you see India as a partner, a competitor, or even a rival, one thing is undeniable: you cannot ignore it anymore. The era when India was a background player is over. As the world's fastest-growing major power, India isn't just asking for a seat at the table. It's demanding one, and rewriting the rules of the game while it's at it. And that's why the world fears India now.